Imagine you're driving down a narrow road in Connecticut. It's late at night. There are no streetlights, no houses, just trees on both sides of the road, their branches hanging over the pavement like a tunnel. Then your headlights catch something, a figure, standing motionless beside the road. At first, you think it's a person. Then it slowly turns its head toward your car, and that's when you notice something is wrong. Its head looks far too large for its body. You hit the brakes. The figure disappears into the trees. You stare into the darkness, trying to convince yourself that you imagined it. Then you hear a sound. Tap, tap, tap. Something is moving through the woods beside you. Stories like this have been told for generations in parts of Connecticut, Ohio, and Michigan. The creatures in these stories are known as the Melon Heads. Strange, human-like figures supposedly hiding deep in isolated woods with enormous, distorted heads. Some versions say they're escaped patients. Others claim they were victims of horrific experiments. And some stories say they're something much older. But here's the disturbing part. There is no single version of the story. The details change depending on where you hear it. Yet the same basic warning keeps coming back. Stay away from the woods after dark. Because according to the legend, you might not be alone out there. And in the next part, we're going to travel back to where one of the most famous versions of the Melon Heads legend supposedly began, and discover the mysterious story of the people who were said to have disappeared into the forest. To understand the Melon Heads, you have to go back before anyone was calling them monsters. One of the most famous versions of the legend comes from Connecticut, particularly the wooded areas around Fairfield County. According to local folklore, there was once a secretive institution hidden away from civilization. The story says that children were supposedly kept there under terrible conditions. And then comes the darkest part of the legend. The children were allegedly subjected to strange medical experiments. According to the tale, one of those experiments supposedly involved their heads. The story claims that their skulls became unnaturally enlarged, giving them the appearance that eventually inspired the name Melon Heads. But there's a major problem. There is no solid historical evidence proving that this institution existed in the way the legend describes. Researchers and local historians have pointed out that the story has been passed down largely as folklore, and yet the legend didn't disappear. Instead, it grew. People began claiming that something was living in the woods, something that didn't want visitors. Some versions say the Melon Heads survived by hiding deep in the forest. Others claim they became aggressive toward anyone who wandered too close. And then there are the stories from people who say they actually encountered them. Drivers supposedly spotted strange figures along isolated roads. Hikers reported hearing movement between the trees. And some stories describe something watching from the darkness without ever stepping completely into view. But perhaps the creepiest detail is this. The Melon Heads aren't always described as monsters. Sometimes they're described as people who were supposedly changed by something terrible. And if that part of the legend sounds disturbing, wait until you hear what supposedly happens when someone follows them into the woods, because that's where the story takes a much darker turn. The road is empty. Your headlights cut through the darkness, but the forest seems to swallow the light almost immediately. Then you see movement. Not far ahead, something is standing between the trees. You slow down. For a second, it looks like a person. Then it moves too quickly. You can't make out a face. You can't even tell if it's walking or running. You only see the silhouette disappear deeper into the woods. This is where the Melon Heads legend becomes especially strange. Across different versions of the story, People describe similar encounters with mysterious figures around isolated roads and wooded areas. Some claim they saw pale, unusual-looking people watching from the tree line. Others describe strange sounds coming from the forest, branches snapping, footsteps, and sometimes knocking against the side of a vehicle. But there's one recurring warning: don't follow them. According to the legend, some people who see the creatures become curious. They stop their cars, they walk toward the woods, they try to find out what they saw, and that's supposedly when things change. The forest becomes strangely quiet. No birds, no insects, just the sound of your own footsteps. Then, you hear something behind you. You turn around, nothing. You keep walking, another sound. Closer this time. You look toward the trees, and for just a moment, you see a large, distorted head staring back at you. Then it's gone. Of course, none of this proves the Melon Heads actually exist. The sightings can have ordinary explanations: wildlife, shadows, people, or simply the way darkness distorts what we see. But folklore doesn't need proof to survive. It only needs a story, and someone willing to repeat it. And in the next part, we're going to look at one of the most disturbing elements of the legend. Why so many versions describe the Melon Heads as people who were never supposed to be found. There's a disturbing pattern in many versions of the Melon Heads legend. They're not always described as creatures that simply appeared in the forest. They're described as people who were changed. According to the folklore, some of these stories begin with an isolated institution or research facility hidden far away from ordinary towns. The details vary. In one version, children were supposedly kept away from society. In another, they were allegedly subjected to cruel experiments. And eventually, the story claims some of them escaped. They disappeared into the surrounding woods, but they didn't simply run away. The legend says they stayed there for years, maybe even generations, and that's where the story becomes unsettling. Imagine a group of people living somewhere beyond the road, deep inside a forest that most people never visit. No electricity, no normal homes, no connection to the outside world, just trees, darkness, and silence. According to the legend, these people supposedly adapted to life in the woods. They became suspicious of outsiders. They watched from a distance, and sometimes they approached passing cars. Some versions even claim that drivers have seen strange figures following vehicles along isolated roads. But there's another detail that makes the legend even creepier. The Melon Heads are often associated with specific roads and locations. That gives the stories a strange sense of geography. They're not simply monsters from a random campfire story. They're supposedly somewhere. A real forest, a real road, a real stretch of darkness that you could theoretically drive through. And that may be one reason the legend has survived for so long. Because when someone tells you there's a monster in a fictional castle, you can laugh it off. But when someone points toward a real road and says, "Don't go into those woods after midnight," it feels different. Still, there's something important to remember. The horrifying backstory of the Melon Heads is largely folklore, and historians have not established the legendary experiments or institutions as factual. But that doesn't explain every story people claim to have experienced. And in the next part, we're going to get into the encounters that turned the Melon Heads from an old local legend into one of America's strangest roadside horror stories. So are the Melon Heads real? There's no solid evidence proving that these mysterious creatures actually exist. The stories of folklore, passed down through generations, changing every time someone tells them. But maybe that's exactly what makes them so disturbing, because somewhere in Connecticut, Ohio, or Michigan, there are still dark roads surrounded by miles of forest, and if you're driving through one late at night, you might see something standing between the trees. Maybe it's just a person, maybe it's an animal, or maybe it's something you were never supposed to see. So the next time you're driving down an empty road after midnight, and something with an unusually large head suddenly steps into your headlights, don't stop, because according to the legend, the Melon Heads are still watching.